Oh, started the video and you got my tail end of my dog. Hey guys, we're gonna continue. It's a good day. Every day's a good day, right? It's a good day until you decide it's not a good day. So today's a good day because I've decided it's a good day. we are not sick. That's right. We refuse to admit it. We are not sick. We technically aren't yet. We feel like we might be on the verge of getting sick, as you can tell by my lovely little sick voice. Is it sexy, guys? So I have one of those sexy sick voices. Highly doubt it. That is such a funny statement. What a concept. So we are on chapter 7 of Practicing the Power of Now, Essential Teachings, Meditations, and Exercises from the Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. It's an awesome book. I am obsessed with it. I've only been going chapter by chapter just because there's quite a bit in a chapter, and I get pieces of me, right? It's not just about the reading of the book. It's about adding pieces of you. Otherwise, you're just reading a book. Where is your input? Where is you when you read a book? Is it just the book, or do you have an input? I have input. So my books, I don't just read the books and then send them out into the world. No, I read the books, as you can tell. If you've seen my previous videos, I read the books. I highlight in the books. Sometimes in the front of the books, I will put a little bit of something. This one I just put my name, the town I'm in, the year. I said, excellent read with prominent info, being in the now. How brilliant. So just little things that I've added. I did stop and get a new book. I was out the other day, and I came across this new little library just down the street from me. I'll hold you because you were on the book. And I got The Idle Thoughts of an Idle Fellow by Jerome K. Jerome. I feel like I've heard of Jerome before. It seems like an interesting read. The title certainly wasn't what grabbed my attention. I didn't even know what it was about. It took me some digging to figure out what the hell it was about. Once I got into it, apparently it's just thoughts of a random person, the idle thoughts of an idle fellow. It literally is that, and I found that fascinating because he said that he wasn't even going to make it into a book, and his friends and family just kept saying, man, if you ever did put this into a book, I would absolutely read this. And I found that kind of fun because my friends have been telling me that for a long time now, that there's a lot of information that's just been popping out of my head, I'm going to say for the last year at least. And it doesn't stop, and it's prominent in some experiences that I've had, and just a world full of wow over the last year. And I've been just kind of writing bits and pieces of it, and it's apparently it's fascinating enough that I've been told a few times that if I wrote my stuff down somewhere that people would read it. So I don't know, maybe I'll organize my notes and I'll write a book. Maybe I'll organize my notes and somebody else will write a book. Maybe somebody else will do all the work, and I'll just do all the work. They get to write it and make it into a book, and I get to give them all of the information. So I suppose it's an equal teamship, right? I do the research and provide them with the information, and then they have to make it into something that people are going to want to read without altering me, right? Like that's a big part of writing a book, especially if you're doing it for somebody else. If somebody hands you a book and they're like, or paper, and they're like, make this into a book or a movie, that's a lot of responsibility. That really is. That's not just making something amazing. That's also realizing that you have to get you can't add your point of view. You have to make it theirs. You have to be completely biased. Somebody else wrote this. This is how the way that they wanted to come across. If they ask for your opinion, that's great. If they don't ask for your opinion, you really have to just you have to know their story. You have to be completely biased. Talk about observing the now. That is the prime example of observing the now instead of being in the now. They're handed a something to do, again, making a movie, writing a book, and instead of experiencing it or putting their emotions or thoughts or basically anything into it, get off of me. They have an opportunity to just be completely separate from it and get to know this other person's story. What a great way to get to know somebody than to just be handed something like that and get to know the person, to know exactly what it is that they wanted you to get across. That's a big responsibility, and it's exciting. You get to know somebody's true stories, their true meaning, not just guessing. The story of Jesus, we guessed an awful lot. We don't pay attention to the words that he said, and we get lost in that, and that's why he kept walking. want us lost on his words. It was meant for certain people. If you get it, you get it. If it works for your life, it works for your life. And if it doesn't, you know what? There are a billion other things out there that are going to work for just you. I'm a certain way, you're a certain way, we're all a certain way, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, because there are endless ways to learn. There are endless possibilities. It's just endless. I'm just ranting on because, as you can see, I'm rolling, so my hands aren't free. Just give me a minute. I'm just about done. Clean out my mess, take all my garbage. You never leave anything behind. That's super rude. Super rude. I'm going to need my pen and my marker. Louisa said that she's going to come over in a little bit, so let's get some reading done before her and Alabella come over here. All right, chapter 7. How exciting. From addictive to enlightened relationships, love/hate relationships. Unless and until you access the consciousness frequency of presence, all relationships, and particularly intimate relationships, are deeply flawed and ultimately dysfunctional. They may seem perfect for a while, such as when you are in love. I call that the honeymoon stage. But invariably that apparent perfection gets disrupted as arguments, conflicts, dissatisfaction, and emotional or even physical violence occur with increasing frequency. Oh, it's a squirrel. I'm like, what the frig is running behind me? Pepper, babe. Okay, you're okay. Stay where Mom can see you, hun. That scared the ever-living bejeepers out of me. I thought my dog is climbing the fence behind me. You're okay. I just wanted to know where you were. That scared me. Okay, so it seems that most love relationships become love-hate relationships before long. Love can then turn into savage attack, feelings of hostility, or complete withdrawal or of affection, at the flick of a switch. This is considered normal. If in your relationship you experience both love and the opposite of love, attack, emotional violence, and so on, then it is likely that you are confusing ego attachment and addictive clinging with love. I'm going to highlight that because that is just super important. If in your relationships you experience both love and the opposite of love, such as attack, emotional violence, and so on, then it is likely that you are confusing ego attachment and addictive clinging with love. Just want to make sure my microphone's on. Sometimes I forget to turn that on. You cannot love your partner in one moment and attack him or her the next. True love has no opposite. If your love has an opposite, then it is not love, but a strong ego need for a more complete or deeper sense of self, a need that the other person temporarily meets. That is so important. Oh my God. True love has no opposite. If your love has an opposite, then it is not love, but a strong ego need for a complete and deeper sense of self, a need that the other person temporarily meets. It is the ego's substitute for salvation, and for a short time, it almost does feel like salvation. It's kind of like that statement, your love is my drug. Your love. See, that's not okay. That's not okay. You may not be running to drugs and alcohol, but you have found another drug. It's not normal to feel like you're high on love. It's not normal to feel so low. It's not normal to go like this. If you're going like this on love, well, how is that any different than any other addiction? Why aren't you an alcoholic then? Why aren't you doing drugs? Why aren't you just joining in all the other whatever that you get addicted to, food, whatever the situation is? Love is no better. No, it's no different. Love is anything. Too much of anything is not a good thing. How are you treating it? How are you behaving? Are you clinging to it? I mean, we say that if you love something, let it go. If it loves you, it'll come back. We all want freedom, and yet for some reason the minute we say the words, I love you, you're mine, our freedom's instantly gone. You are mine. I own you. That's just, if that's love, no. Okay, listen here, bugs. If you think for a second that you are coming up my cup, you are not coming up my cup. Get off my cup. Get. This is my tea. That's so gross. Oh, I don't like bugs. I also don't like being sick, so this is my combination tea. You don't want to know what's in it. But there comes a point when your partner behaves in ways that fail to meet your needs, or rather those of your ego. The feelings of fear, pain, and lack that are intrinsic I've got this, intrinsic part of egoic consciousness, but have been covered up by the love relationship now resurfaces. Just as with every other addiction, you are on a high when the drug is available, but invariably there comes a time when the drug no longer works for you. Oh, who's that? Pepper. Is that Ella? Go get her. Go get Ella. Look. Go get her. Go get her. You didn't even see her until she was like in front of you. Stay. Stop. 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 I know, but I'm live and I've got 100 drinks around me. In a minute, I'm going to read a chapter. I'm live right now. I'm doing a chapter and then we'll play. Okay. But there comes a point when your partner behaves in ways that fail to meet your needs, or rather those of your ego. The feelings of fear, pain, and lack that are now intrinsic part of egoic consciousness but have been covered up by the love relationship now resurface. Just as with every other addiction, you are on a high when the drug is available, but invariable, there comes a time when the drug no longer works for you. When those painful feelings reappear, you feel them even more strongly than before, and what is more, you now perceive your partner as the cause of those feelings. This means that you project them outward and attack the other with all the savage violence that is part of your pain. This attack may awaken the partner's own pain, and he or she may counter your attack. At this point, the ego is still unconsciously hoping that its attack or its attempts at manipulation will be sufficient punishment to induce your partner to change their behavior so that it can use them again as a cover-up for your pain. I'm going to pause because there's a train. So this one's really, really, really good, this chapter. I paused because there's a train behind me. It talks about the love-hate in your relationship and how you can't have love and hate in a relationship, that it's not true love. If you're going back and forth, it's not true love. There's something wrong. It's like an addiction. You can't love somebody today and want to kill them and attack them tomorrow. That doesn't sound normal. So that's what this chapter is. Every addiction arises from an unconscious refusal to face and move through your own pain. I'm going to highlight that if I can find my marker. That one's important too. So I want to stress that one. Every addiction arises from an unconscious refusal to face and move through your own pain. Every addiction starts with pain and ends with pain. That's important too. Every addiction starts with pain and ends with pain. Whatever the substance you are addicted to, alcohol, food, legal or illegal drugs, or even a person, you are using something or somebody to cover up your own pain. That is why after the initial euphoria has passed, there is so much unhappiness, so much pain in intimate relationships. They do not cause pain and unhappiness. They bring out the pain and unhappiness that is already in you. Every addiction does that. Every addiction reaches a point where it does not work for you anymore, and then you feel the pain more intensely than ever. This is one reason why most people are always trying to escape from the present moment and are seeking some kind of salvation in the future. The first thing that they might encounter if they focus their attention on the now is their own pain, and this is what they fear. If they only knew how easy it is to access the power of presence that dissolves the past and its pain, the reality that dissolves the illusion. If they only knew how close they are to their own reality, how close, they say here, how close to God, but we're going to stick to how close to being. If you choose to believe in God or being or whatever you choose to believe in, there's nothing wrong with that. I choose to believe in you. Me. I believe in me. Avoidance of relationships in an attempt to avoid pain is not the answer either. The pain is there anyway. 3 failed relationships in as many years are more likely to force you into awakening than 3 years on a desert island or shut away in your room. But if you could bring intense presence into your loneliness, that would work for you too. So I'm just going to write it. Avoidance of relationships in an attempt to avoid pain is not the answer either. The pain is there anyway. From addictive to enlightened relationships. Whether you are living alone or with a partner, this remains the key, being present and intensifying your presence by taking your attention even more deeply into the now. For love to flourish, the light of your presence needs to be strong enough so that you no longer get taken over by the thinker or the pain body and mistake them for who you are. To know yourself as the being underneath the thinker, the stillness underneath the mental noise, the love and joy underneath the pain is freedom, salvation, enlightenment. To disidentify from the pain body is to bring presence into the pain and thus transmute it. To disidentify from thinking is to be the silent watcher of your thoughts and behavior, especially the repetitive patterns of your mind and the roles played by the ego. If you stop investing it with selfness, the mind loses its compulsive quality, which basically is the compulsion to judge, and so to resist what is, which creates conflict, drama, and new pain. In fact, the moment that judgment stops through acceptance of what is, you are free of the mind. You have made room for love, for joy, for peace. I'm just going to read that last part again. The moment that judgment stops through acceptance of what is, you are free of the mind. Is my dog with you? My dog over there? Okay. First you stop judging yourself, then you stop judging your partner. The greatest catalyst for change in a relationship is complete acceptance of your partner as he or she is without needing to judge or change them in any way. That immediately takes you beyond ego. All mind games and all addictive clinging are then over. There are no victims and no perpetrators anymore, no accuser and accused. This is also the end of all codependency, of being drawn into somebody else's unconscious pattern and thereby enabling it to continue. You will then either separate in love or more ever deeply into the now together, into being. Can it be that simple? Yes, it is actually that simple. Love is a state of being. Your love is not outside, it is deep within you. You can never lose it. It cannot leave you. It is not dependent on some other body, some external form. In the stillness of your presence, you can feel your own formless and timeless reality as the unmanifested life that animates your physical form. You can then feel the same life deep within every other human and every other creature. You look beyond the veil of form and separation. This is the realization of oneness. This is love. Okay. That's being in the now, accepting you're in the now. When you're in the now, you're aware of the now, you're observing the now, you're less likely, I'm not going to say you're going to, it's less likely that you're going to get so involved and be in the now. You're going to be able to better just kind of stand back for a minute before you even open your mouth and just kind of be like, do I want to open my mouth? Does this require me opening my mouth? Are they just ranting? Do they just need a minute? Is this something they need to get out? Just taking a minute before doing anything will change everybody's life. Why do you need to jump in? Why does it require a response right this second? What gun is at your head that you can't take a second, the blink of an eye, to think before you do absolutely anything? When you can do that, it's not love. I'm not going to call it just necessarily love. That's wow. That's control. Like, that's unbelievable. Okay, did I piss you off? Because I'm very sorry if I did. I'm not going to move. I might get stung here. Uh-huh.
You don't have to touch it. It's covered in drool.
Oh, sorry, there's a bee. It's all good. I made it mad. I haven't run yet. He was here. He was here. He was in the bubble.
Just blow him away.
There are rules.
Use the wind.
They should know the rules by now. Okay, although brief glimpses are possible, love cannot flourish unless you are permanently free of mind identification and your presence is intense enough to have dissolved the pain body, or you can at least remain present as the watcher. The pain body cannot then take you over and so become destructive of love. Again, observing, being in the moment. You're there, right? You're in the now. Physically, you're in the now. But being an observer, instead of being in the now with your body, realize your body's in the now, but you can just observe for a minute. Let's leave your body, just kind of step back for a minute, look at it from a different angle, observe everything that's going on, watch it go on before you decide if you want to do anything or not. Relationships as spiritual practice. As humans have become increasingly identified with their mind, most relationships are not rooted in being and so turn into a source of pain and become dominated by problems and conflict. If relationships energize and magnify egoic mind patterns and active the pain body, activate the pain body as they do at this time, why not accept this fact rather than try to escape from it? Why not cooperate with it instead of avoiding relationships or continuing to pursue the phantom of an ideal partner as an answer to your problems or a means of feeling fulfilled? With the acknowledgement and acceptance of the facts also comes a degree of freedom from them. For example, when you know there is disharmony and you hold that knowing, through your knowing a new factor has come in and the disharmony cannot remain unchanged. When you know you are not at peace, your knowing creates a still space that surrounds your non-peace in a loving and tender embrace and then transmutes your non-peace into peace. That's a mouthful. Something was creeping up behind me again. As far as inner transformation is concerned, there is nothing you can do about it. You cannot transform yourself, and you certainly cannot transform your partner or anybody else. All you can do is create a space for transformation to happen, for grace and love to enter. So whenever your relationship is not working, whenever it brings out the madness in you and in your partner, be glad. What was unconscious is being brought up to the light. It is an opportunity for salvation. So don't run. When the problem finally presents itself, we run from it. Oh, I don't want to deal with this. It's too complicated. Well, what the hell? You didn't know what the problem was in the first place. Now we've established what the problem was and you want to run from it? You don't want to talk about it. You don't want to deal with it. It's over. It's too much. It took us this long. This long. We went through hell to find out what the hell the problem was. Now we know what the problem was. We don't have to be in hell anymore. And you want to stay in hell? That makes absolutely, positively no flipping sense at all. Don't even bother getting to the root of the problem if you're not going to deal with it. If you're going to get to the root of the problem and you're going to say, oh, well, this made me angry and move on from life. Well, guess what? Every time a situation comes up like that, you're going to get angry again. And this time you're going to say, well, I identified the problem. I'm allowed to behave like this because this happened to me years ago and it made me angry. So I'm allowed to be angry today because it made me angry there, so just accept it. No, now you've given something that happened a personality. It's now called anger. Now it's called every time somebody yells at you, you bring on the personality of anger, and you've allowed yourself to become that anger. You've become that personality. When you become that liar, you become that cheater, and you use it as your title. That's now who you are. When this happens to me, this personality comes out. You gave it life. It doesn't have to have life. Something that happened to you. Why are you continuously bringing it up and then wondering how come you're not happy and how come situations aren't getting any better? Well, that's because you keep associating situations or moments with something that happened a long time ago or even yesterday that made you feel like this. And so you just assumed that every time something similar to that or like that happens, this is how you behave. That is absolutely not the case. You've just stayed an infant your entire life and you've learned absolutely nothing. And you walk around like a bombshell. That's not okay. Okay, the relationship then becomes your... Oh, hang on. I don't remember where I was. I don't know. We're going to start over here. Every moment, hold the knowing of that moment, particularly of your inner state. If there's anger, know that there is anger. If there is jealousy, defensiveness, the urge to argue, the need to be right, an inner child demanding love and attention, or emotional pain of any kind, whatever it is, know the reality of that moment and hold the knowing. The relationship then becomes your sadhana, your spiritual practice. If you observe unconscious behavior in your partner, hold it in the loving embrace of your knowing so that you won't react. So that's acknowledging that your partner is behaving differently. And you may or may not understand why, but if they're not able to deal with it, they're not willing to deal with it or wanting to deal with it, all you can do is love them, right? You love them. There's nothing more you can do. You can scream at them, what's wrong with you? And chase them down and yell at them and call them names and whatever. You're not going to get anywhere. What are you doing? They gave you time to breathe and you need to give them time to breathe. So let them have the time to breathe. Let them understand that that you are there, that if they decide that they require your assistance or your opinion or you're just being there for any reason, that they're an adult, they're a human being past the age of 5. You are capable of making your own decisions. Even even a 5-year-old has the ability to come up to you and say, I need help. If they're not asking for help, they're either doing it on their own and they're okay, or they're not doing anything and they're sinking, and that's their choice. But until they come forward to you, really, what can you do? Really, you can just tell them that you're there. I love you. I love you. I'm here. If you need me, I'm here. If they choose to sink and go down the shitter because they just decided not to reach out to the 10,000 hands that are out there, well, that's not on you. Don't put that on you. There are resources out there. There are always somebody out there. They may not always understand you, but there's always somebody out there. But to just sit in your room and say, well, you didn't do anything, there's nothing I can do. Again, prime example, again, I bring it up 100 times. My sister and her friend 1,000 times telling me the right words when I was in the right world. Didn't matter. Didn't matter if you'd handed me $1 million and all the vehicles and everything in the world. In that moment, it did not matter. You don't matter. I did not want to be fixed. I did not want to do the work, and that's exactly what happened. I wasn't fixed and I didn't do the work. I had all the resources, so they could have kept banging on my door. They could have kept chasing me around. They didn't condemn me and tell me not to go away or abandon me in any way, but they left it that if I came to them and said I need help, they were there. And if not, then that was my choice entirely. But just being aware of the person and being aware of the situation, being aware, sometimes you can say something and do something and sometimes you can't. What? It's a balloon. Well, it looks like a balloon, maybe. It's falling awkwardly and it's not blowing in the wind, which is odd. There should be wind. The leaves are blowing. I'm going to say yes, but I honestly can't answer that. It's not blowing in the wind like it should. It's definitely coming down. It looks like it's in the shape of a triangle. That's what's weird. Triangle or a heart. That's not a balloon. That's not coming down right. I don't know what it is. It's hovering, so it's not flying. What in heaven's name? It's stopped.
Where is it? Oh.
If that's a balloon, I've never seen a balloon behave like that before. We're just going to pause for a minute, guys. I have no idea what we're looking at, clearly. I'd show you, but you're not going to see it from my phone. My phone's not the best. Let's see. Let's see if I can find it. Oh, it's impossible to see. I doubt you guys can see that. I can barely see that with my eyes. Right there. Oh yeah, there it is. It's going up, which is, I don't know what it is. I have no idea what that is. That's the way that it was coming down. I don't understand. And now it's going way up. But we have quite a bit of a wind and the wind is not affecting it. That's what's confusing me. It's pretty straight, right? It's red on one side. Looks like it's silver on the other. I'm going to say possibly a helium balloon is my assumption, but I don't really know what that is, to be honest. Huh. Okay. Unconsciousness and knowing cannot coexist for long, even if the knowing is only in the other person and not in the one who is acting out the unconsciousness. The energy form that lies behind hostility and attack finds the presence of love absolutely intolerable. If you react at all to your partner's unconsciousness, you become unconscious yourself. But if you then remember to know your reaction, nothing is lost. Never before have relationships been as problematic and conflict-ridden as they are now. As you may have noticed, they are not here to make you happy or fulfilled. If you continue to pursue the goal of salvation through a relationship, you will be disillusioned again and again. But if you accept that the relationship is here to make you conscious instead of happy, then the relationship will offer you salvation, and you will be aligning yourself with the higher consciousness that wants to be born into this world. I don't know if it's a bug or the grass repeatedly touching me. Get it. It's a For those who hold on to the old patterns, there will be increasing pain, violence, confusion, and madness. How many people does it take to make your life into a spiritual practice? Never mind if your partner will not cooperate. Sanity, consciousness, can only come into this world through you. You do not need to wait for the world to become sane or for somebody else to become conscious before you can be enlightened. You may wait forever. Do not accuse each other of being unconscious. The moment you start to argue, you have identified with a mental position and are now defending not only that position, but also your sense of self. The ego is in charge. Let me repeat that. Very important. Do not accuse each other of being unconscious. The moment you start to argue, you have identified with a mental position and are now defending not only that position, but also your sense of self. The ego is in charge. You have become unconscious. At times, it may be appropriate to point out certain aspects of your partner's behavior. If you are very alert, very present, you can do so without ego involvement, without blaming, accusing, or making the other wrong. When your partner behaves unconsciously, relinquish all judgment. Judgment is either to confuse someone's unconscious behavior with who they are, or to project your own unconsciousness on another person and mistake that for who they are. To relinquish judgment does not mean that you do not recognize dysfunction and unconsciousness when you see it. It means being the knowing rather than being the reaction and the judge. You will then either be totally free of reaction, or you may react and still be the knowing, the space in which the reaction is watched and allowed to be. Instead of fighting the darkness, you bring in the light. Instead of reacting to delusion, you see the delusion, yet at the same time look through it. Being the knowing creates a clear space of loving presence that allows all things and all people to be as they are. No greater catalyst for transformation exists. If you practice this, your partner cannot stay with you and remain unconscious. If you both agree that the relationship will be your spiritual practice, so much the better. You can then express your thoughts and feelings to each other as soon as they occur, or as soon as a reaction comes up, so that you do not create a time gap in which an expressed or unacknowledged emotion or grievance can fester and grow. Learning to give expression to what you feel without blaming. Learn to listen to your partner in an open, non-defensive way. When it becomes an argument, shut it down. You're not getting anywhere. If you're arguing, nobody's listening. So again, I'm going to read that again. Learn to give expression to what you feel without blaming. So that's where when you're in counseling, they say when you talk to your partner in an argument or in a discussion, I feel frustrated when you say this. It makes me anxious when you do that. Communicating your feeling. You don't have to be feeling that in that moment, but communicating to your partner that this is how you make me feel when you do this. So when you express to somebody, instead of just saying, this is stupid and you're an asshole and blah, 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 blah. No, express to them how it makes you feel and let them know the feeling that's attached to it so that they can better understand. Maybe there's another way to approach this. Maybe, for example, my mother repeatedly told me as I was growing up, Val, you're loud. You're too loud. Well, I didn't know what that meant. In my head, I'm not loud. In my head, I'm talking in normal, I don't know what you would call normal. I don't know what else to compare it to. I suppose I'm comparing it to what I hear. But in my head, I'm talking normal. To other people, I suppose I'm a little bit loud. I didn't know that. And if my mom had found another way of saying it to me instead of my whole life just saying, you're so loud, maybe we would have been able to better communicate. Maybe we would have been better, closer. I talk less to her. I talk less around her. I avoided everybody. When we got together with the family, I was quiet. I whispered. I was certainly not myself. I didn't know what she meant by loud. I thought that by loud she meant I was up and I was making a nuisance and I was screaming and my hands were, I was being an ass, and I wasn't. I was just usually sitting there having a conversation with everybody, but her hearing must be very sensitive, and clearly I'm half deaf because this must be loud to people. And because of the lack of communication, there was we lost a lot. I lost a lot of my mom because of a lot of miscommunication. So express yourself. And if you're not getting across, there's 1,000 different ways to get it across. There's 1 billion different words with 1 billion different subtitles for a reason. Pick one. Give your partner space for expressing himself or herself. Be present. Accusing, defending, attacking, all those partners that are designed to strengthen or protect the ego or to get its needs met will then become redundant. Giving space to others and to yourself is vital. Love cannot flourish without it. So if somebody needs a minute, give them a minute. You guys should be on a path where you're in a relationship. I'm talking friendship, love relationship, family, doesn't matter what it is. Relationship. If you're in a relationship, that person after the age of 5 is entirely capable of saying, I want to talk. I need help. I need you. Let them go for a minute. Let them go. You don't have to suffocate them. They need to breathe. They need a minute. And if you're constantly giving them the answer, they'll never figure it out for themselves. Stop saving everybody. Not everybody requires saving. When you have removed the 2 factors that are destructive of relationships, when the pain body has transmuted and you are no longer identified with mind and mental positions, and if your partner has done the same, you will experience the bliss of the flowering of relationship. Instead of mirroring to each other your pain and your unconsciousness, instead of satisfying your mutual addictive ego needs, you will reflect back to each other the love that you feel deep within, the love that comes with the realization of your oneness with all that is. This is the love that has no opposite. If your partner is still identified with the mind and the pain body while you are already free, this will represent a major challenge. Not to you, but to your partner. It is not easy to live with an enlightened person, or rather, it is easy that the ego finds it extremely threatening. Remember that the ego needs problems, conflict, and enemies to strengthen the sense of separateness on which its identity depends. The unenlightened partner's mind will be deeply frustrated because its fixed positions are not rested, which means they will become shaky and weak, and there is even the danger that they may collapse altogether, resulting in loss of self. The pain body is demanding feedback and not getting it. The need for argument, drama, and conflict is not being met. Give up the relationship with yourself. Enlightened or not, you are either a man or a woman, so on the level of your form identity, you are not complete. You are one half of the whole. This incompleteness is felt as male-female attraction, the pull toward the opposite energy polarity, no matter how conscious you are. But in that state of interconnectedness, you feel this pull somewhere on the surface or periphery of your life. This does not mean that you do not relate deeply to other people or your partner. In fact, you can relate deeply only if you are conscious of being. Coming from being, you are able to focus beyond the veil of form. In being, male or female are one. In form, your form may continue to have certain needs, but being has none. I'm going to read that again, because if you remove the genders, if it is just another title, then it's so much easier. In being, male or female are one. Your form may continue to have certain needs, but being has none. It is already complete and whole. If those needs are met, that is beautiful. But whether or not they are met makes no difference to your deep inner state. So it is perfectly possible for an enlightened person, if the need for the male or female polarity is not met, to feel a sense of lack or incompleteness on the outer level of his or her being, yet at the same time be totally complete, fulfilled, and at peace within. That's where I'm at. If you cannot be at ease with yourself when you are alone, you will seek a relationship to cover up your unease. You will be sure that the unease will then reappear in some other form within the relationship, and you will probably hold your partner responsible for it. All you really need to do is accept this moment fully. You are then at ease in the here and now and at ease with yourself. But do you need to have a relationship with yourself at all? Why can't you just be yourself? When you have a relationship with yourself, you have split yourself into two, I and myself, subject and object. That mind-created duality is the root cause of all unnecessary complexity, of all problems and conflict in your life. In the state of enlightenment, you are yourself. You and yourself merge into one. You do not judge yourself. You do not feel sorry for yourself. You are not proud of yourself. You do not love yourself. You do not hate yourself, and so on. The split caused by self-reflective consciousness is healed, its curse removed. There is no self that you need to protect, defend, or feed anymore. When you are enlightened, there is one relationship that you no longer have, the relationship with yourself. Once you have given that up, all your other relationships will be love relationships. I'm just going to... When you have a relationship with yourself, you have split into two that was, I'm just going to highlight this whole thing, I think. Okay, I think that was enough for that. All right, so we have finished chapter 7. Tomorrow when I come next, is going to be acceptance and surrender. Acceptance of the now. Ooh, I like that. I don't like the word surrender, so we'll have an interesting moment with that. But I don't think I'm going to get a chance to read the other one. I'm going to let you guys go for today and spend some time with my dogs and my friend here. But today was a good reading. Yeah, it was a good reading. They're all good readings. Love you guys. Bye.